That's me. Do I have another one going? I want to record it. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this interview with Brent Conway. He is a assistant superintendent for the Pentucket School District, and he is starting on a journey with a new Facebook page. He is using actually our the mothership, I like to call it, the science of reading what I should have learned in college. And he was inspired to start his own along with two other administrators. And so today we're here to interview him and to see, to have him share his journey with us. So Brent, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Donna. So I'm an assistant superintendent for the Pentucket Regional School District, which is in Massachusetts, just north of Boston. This has just finished my second year, now entering my third year in that role. Prior to being in Pentucket, I was a principal for the Melrose Public Schools, which is just outside of Boston. I was an elementary principal there at Lincoln Elementary for 7 years and a middle school principal for 4 years. And an elementary and middle school teacher prior to that, assistant principal, and a few other things too. So, and I guess, so that's sort of what leads me to where I am. I've had a few different roles and involved with a lot in the state of Massachusetts. I sat on the Dyslexia Guidelines Creation Committee with the Department of Ed, and also on the Literacy Champions, which is just finished drafting along with the Department of Ed, the guidelines for early literacy, which will be released this fall, in the fall of 2020 in the state of Massachusetts. So a lot of great work over the years, and looking forward to the next steps and connecting with people around the country.
Well, Brent, it sounds like you've had a lot of experience understanding the science of reading. So I'd like for you to share with our members your journey in learning about the science of reading and what it's done for you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, connecting with folks on the Science of Reading Facebook page has been great. And Donna, thank you for really getting that going. That's been really impressive. So my journey really started back about 11 years ago, and even more than that, when I started as an elementary principal, and I took over a building that was a phenomenal school building in Melrose, had seen leadership change many years in a row, and they did not really have a structure in place for how they teach literacy. Their scores on the state assessments were not strong, and really struggling. We had about 50% high needs population. It was only 400 kids, and everyone walked to school. It was a neighborhood school. There were no buses. Everyone lived there. But we also had 26 different languages spoken in the homes of the 400 kids. And it was a unique school for the city of Melrose. And after a short while, recognizing that things were not going well, we needed to address some things. At the time, the No Child Left Behind Act was in place, and the school was about to be named on the verge of a takeover, which was really concerning and not necessary for the school. And the teachers partnered with me, and we started on a journey to look at sort of tiered instruction. The phrase science of reading was not something we necessarily knew at the time. We were looking at best practices, using the data of our students to find out where our problems were, and addressing it both through curriculum, instructional practices, interventions, data analysis, systems, schedules, and being able to use personnel appropriately to really tier supports. And that was a long path. It took us 7 years to get where we wanted to go, and we got there. And you know, really, the work started. I'm going to share my screen with everyone, and I think this is one of the visuals that was really helpful to us in understanding, in that you know, about 35 to 45% of our kids will learn to read almost no matter what we do, and that's what we were seeing. And then we had students who we thought were okay leaving second and third grade. And then when they get to the state assessment, we were at about 50% proficiency, which was really concerning. And then this is the type of approach and the understanding that we gained, is that, you know, 50% or so, even larger than that, needed more of a systematic and structured approach to how they learned to read. And this was the type of information that really helped us. Not all of our kids were dyslexic. That wasn't the problem. And we also knew we could not intervene our way out of this. This was a tier 1 problem. If you're saying that structured literacy and direct and systematic instruction was needed for the kids who were behind, but that's only done in intervention, well, that represented 50% of our kids, and that's not right. That's a tier 1 problem. And that's the road we went down. So from there, we at Lincoln Elementary, I had some great staff. We did some great PD. We adopted some curriculum tools that were really helpful, but we also read a book from Kennewick, Washington, and their story called Annual Growth for All, Catch-Up Growth for Those Who Are Behind. And that was sort of the mantra that we took on, and that when kids were behind, they needed to make catch-up growth. And that's a tiered approach. And everyone took responsibility for these kids. This was not a special ed teacher's responsibility. It was not an interventionist responsibility. All kids were our kids. And even the kids who were furthest behind, the classroom teacher really took responsibility. And then we set up a structure to make great use of people to flood classrooms with additional personnel for a whole 60 minutes every day, where we could do small group, focused, tiered instruction on exactly what they needed. And this was the results. And I'll share my screen with a different screen. And let's see, different one. Here we go. This was the results at Lincoln Elementary. So we started, as you can see, in 2008, and we had 64% of our kids in total scoring at grade level in 3rd grade, in grades 3 through 5. It dipped as low as 60, and our special education students, only 22 and even 15% of them in the first couple of years were proficient. And that is a huge gap. And then from there, everything started to kick in, and you can see all of our students started to make gains to the point where we got it to about 80%, which is a pretty good number where we wanted to be. And we were able to close an achievement gap for our students with disabilities as well. And that's really how it all happened and how we started to do it. And it was exciting. The teachers were really happy. This type of improvement led to 3 commendation awards in the state of Massachusetts, and also a National Blue Ribbon Award for Lincoln Elementary School in Melrose in 2015. So this was really exciting work, and we were excited to do it. So.
That is excellent. That's what we like to see. We would love to see in all schools. So, so tell us about, we only have a few minutes left. Tell us about how you feel about your journey and how you would like to share that out with other administrators.
Yeah, I mean, I was someone who taught 5th grade and 6th grade. I was not an early elementary teacher. So a lot of the understanding the role that phonemic awareness plays and the simple view of reading and how we really needed to teach kids to decode for automaticity with their fluency in order before they could, along with their vocabulary and comprehension, but that was really important and the role that played. I was learning that with the teachers. And I think it's important to recognize for administrators, you don't have to be an expert in all of that to help lead this in your schools and in your districts. And that my role often was really as a systems and structures person, setting up the schedules. And I have a visual that I think helps for people with this, and I'll share that one with you as well. And it's sort of a take on, excuse me, here it is. It's sort of a take on the simple view of reading. And for what we're talking about is, it's a multiplication problem. We have systems and structures, which is schedules, personnel management. Like I talked about, staggering our whole building schedule. So everyone had a 90-minute literacy block, plus an additional 30 minutes of writing, plus an additional 30 minutes of intervention. But in that 90 minutes, 60 minutes was designated for small group direct and explicit instruction, K through 4. And we staggered that schedule, and we would flood those grade levels with personnel. We had progress monitoring using the DIBBLs and correlating our data, making sure that we were using assessments that correlated with proficiency outcomes. It makes no sense if our data that we're using is telling me that 80% of our kids are fine and doing well, when at the end of the year, only 60% of them are scoring fine and meeting expectations. That's not a good tool. So you need to correlate your data. And then you have the instruction curriculum. And you give the professional development and you get the tools into the teacher's hands, but that's the teacher's job at that point. They really need to do that work, but you need to give them a structure and a schedule. If you had really knowledgeable teachers with great tools, but you didn't have a schedule and things to set up for them, you're not going to get as far as you need to. Or if you had everything in place as a schedule and you had the data systems, you had all that, but you didn't give your teachers the professional development and tools they need, then they don't get very far with student outcomes for that either.
Exactly.
And this is sort of a tool that I think is really helpful for people to visualize and conceptualize that. And we all have a role in that. And we don't all have to be experts in everything, but we can do it. And we just you have to go to the right people when you need help. And I worked with some excellent folks, Sally Grimes in Massachusetts, Joan Sedita, and Dr. Alyssa Arndt as well, fantastic folks who helped us as a school begin to understand that. And I continue to rely on some of those folks to help with the staff in Pentucket. And we're on a similar road, implementing Hegarty, phonemic awareness in kindergarten and first grade, and it's already had huge results with getting our kids to 95% in kindergarten at or above grade level on those skills assessments and DIBELS. So really excellent stuff.
And that's exactly what we want. We are capable of getting kids to 90 to 95% proficiency if we just know how. And your story is so inspiring, and I'm hoping others find it as inspiring as I have found it. We thank you for your time, and I wish you so much luck and on your new Facebook page that it will be coming out soon. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your experience and expertise. Have a great day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yep.